All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekapadash Brakatham. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone, they rule well, and a salute and the Shalom to all the Akim that are out here laboring, pushing this truth in all sincerity and in truth. This is an ancient manner and customs lesson. Number 209. Weights. This is Deuteronomy 25:13. It says, "Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small," right? Now, let's get it here. Deuteronomy 25:13. It says, "Thou shalt," hold on. Yeah, it say, "Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small," right? It says you must use accurate scales when you weigh out merchandise. See, "Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse weights, diverse measures, a great and a small." It says you must use full and honest measures. "But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight. A perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee." It says, "For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto Yahweh shall thy power." Right? It says, yes, always use honest weights and measures, so that you may enjoy a long life in the land which Yahweh your power giveth you. All who cheat with dishonest weights and measures are detestable to Yahweh Shai. Right? Now, it says, the marginal reading for diverse weights is a stone and a stone, which is a literal rendering of the Hebrew. See also Proverbs 11:1 and Proverbs 16:11. It says weights were no doubt originally made of different sized stones, from which fact even a stone which was used, says which the concept was used to signify a weight, even after other materials were used for weights. We have the word stone in our own language to denote a weight of a certain size. The Germans use the corresponding word stein for a similar purpose. Oriental peddlers still have, as in ancient times, two sets of weights, one for buying and the other for selling. Allusion is made to this species of dishonesty in Proverbs 20 and 10. It says, diverse weights and diverse measures, both of them are alike abomination to Yahweh Shema Shah. Right? False weights and unequal measures. Yahweh Shema Shah detests double standards of every kind. Right? Now, weights were used when buying and selling. Right? To make sure the person that's buying your product, to make sure they are getting their money's worth, right? And to make sure you're not, right? And to make sure that person and to make sure that person is not being cheated out of their money. See, now, it says, how were weights used in the ancient world when it comes to money? It says in the AI overview, in the ancient world, weights were used to measure out money before the invention of coins, and later to verify the weight and authenticity of coins. Before standardized coinage, merchants weighed precious metals like silver and gold by hand using scales and weights to determine value. After coins were introduced, merchants and authorities used small calibrated coin weights to ensure coins hadn't been clipped or tampered with. This dual system of weighing precious metals and checking coins was crucial for commerce and ensuring fair trade and value. Before coinage, weights, because there's weighing precious metals. Before coins were minted, the value of money was literally based on weight. Merchants would measure out pieces of gold and silver using a balance scale against fixed weights to complete a transaction. It says units of weight, considers units of weight as units of money. Names of weight units, such as the shekel and talent, also served as units of currency because they represented specific quantities of precious metals. Honest scales. The common use of weights was so central to commerce that biblical texts frequently warned against using dishonest scales, which highlights how crucial accurate weights were for trade. Right? So, you couldn't cheat anyone out of their money. Right? You couldn't get over on no one because you had to use honest weights. Okay, you had to be accurate, you had to be fair in what you were selling. Period. Now, I typed in this too. I typed in, does banks supposed to use weights when it comes to money? It says yes. Banks are supposed to use weights when counting certain money, specifically coins and cash bundles. as it is a fast and accurate method for managing lower volumes. They also use risk weights to determine how much capital to hold based on the riskiness of their assets, though this is not a regulatory or accounting concept, not a physical one, right? For physical cash counting, how it works. Banks use high precision scales that are pre-programmed with the weight of individual coins and banknotes. When a batch of cash is placed on the scale, it uses the stored data to quickly calculate the total value. Now, are they accurate? Now, are the banks accurate in what they do to count money? No, they're not. They're not accurate. The benefits. This method is faster and more accurate okay, than manual counting. It can help deter theft by creating audit trails. See, so the banks are also supposed to use weights when it comes to counting money, man. But they also get over on the people. Uh, I also typed in, do the government supposed to use weights when it comes to money? It says, yes, historically, governments and weights used to define money, a practice known as the gold standard or commodity money. However, modern governments like the US use fiat money, where the currency's value is based on the government decree rather than a physical commodity like gold. So the government is getting over on the people, man. So they go by what the government says instead of using honest weights, instead of being honest with the people. They get over on the people. They are just basically fucking the people, man, out of their money. It says, the Constitution still links the government's power to both coin money and set weights and measures, showing a historical connection between the two concepts. Historical context. Commodity money. Under a gold standard, the government would define a unit of currency as a specific weight of gold or another commodity. A dollar bill was then a paper note redeemable for that weight of gold. Yep. Now, modern concept. Modern context. Fiat money. Today, most countries use a fiat money system. Since the value of a dollar is not backed by gold or silver. It's supposed to be backed by gold and silver. But it's based on government decree and the trust that it will be accepted as legal tender. It says weights and measurement. It says weights and measures connection. The U.S. Constitution grants Congress the power to coin money, regulate regulate the value thereof, and fix the standard of weights and measures, reflecting a historical link between the two concepts. But today, this doesn't mean the government uses weights to define currency value, which they're supposed to. All right, the money is supposed to be backed by silver and gold. But today's money is not backed by that. It's just paper at the end of the day. See, man, and that's another reason why Babylon the Great, aka America, will be destroyed. Because the government and banks are very dishonest with people. Are very dishonest, man. So they are cheating the people out of their money. The people are being cheated, man. Okay, so merchants are supposed to use weights when it comes to buying and selling. The banks and the government are supposed to use weights when it comes to money. They don't do that. So that's another reason why Babylon the Great, aka America, will be destroyed, man. Now, let's get this. This is Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to Yahweh Shema Shah, but a just weight is his delight. Right? This is Micah 6:10-11. It says, "Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is abominable? Still I count them pure with," it says, "Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances, with the bag of deceitful weights?" It says, "For the rich men thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is full of deceit. And their tongue is deceitful in their mouth." It says, "The rich among you have become very wealthy. Through extortion and violence, your citizens are so used to lying that their tongue can no longer tell the truth." It says in the NLT, "How can I?" Well, I'll start up at 10 in the NLT. "What shall I say about the homes of the wicked, filled with treasures by," it says, "filled with treasures gained by cheating? What about the disgusting practice of measuring out grain with dishonest measures? How can I tolerate your merchants who use dishonest scales and weights?" Man, I'm longing for the day where righteousness is flourishing and booming on the earth, man. I'm longing for the day where righteousness is flourishing on the earth, man. And the ancient way will be back on the earth. Right, man, and the ancient way, the godly way, will be back on the earth in full force, man. And won't no one get over on nobody, man. I'm waiting patiently for that day, man, when righteousness is flourishing and booming on the earth, man. You, you, man, you dumbass Americans, you must, you gotta know you're being fucked over. You gotta know that. You gotta know you're being extorted, man. You're being robbed. What is extortion? Extortion is this. It's extortion, the practice of obtaining something, especially money, through force or threats. Right? Blackmail shakedown. Uh, Extortion is the practice of obtaining benefit, uh, money, goods, or regular payments from an individual or group through coercion, usually by threatening them with future psychological or physical harm. In most jurisdictions, it is likely to constitute a criminal offense. Unlike extortion, robbery is obtaining goods using immediate personal violence or the immediate threat of violence, usually in a one-off situation. But at the end of the day, though, man, it's still robbery. It's still robbery at the end of the day. All right. So, with that, I say, Shalom.